Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Advanced Bass Fishing, and really appreciate you guys coming by the channel to check it out today. Really appreciate that. And guys, today we're going to continue on some of the Advanced Bass Fishing series that I'm doing, talking about the more sort of the abstract part of fishing, the advanced techniques of fishing that go well beyond, what you can read about in most YouTube videos about how to fish a spinnerbait and how to fish a chatterbait. And we're dealing more with non-fishing type stuff, like your casting angles, your boat positioning, how weather affects bass, moods and personality of fish. And what I want to talk about today, guys, is the importance of stealth in fishing. Stealth, everybody understands it as far as hunting. Not many people understand it with fishing because they don't associate hunting and fishing, but actually it's the same thing. When you're fishing, you're actually out hunting for fish. So I want to give you guys some tips and advice on stealth today. And I know that these type of videos, guys, are a little boring, but I can assure you, if you listen to this stuff I'm talking about and you take the time and, have the patience to hear this out, it's definitely going to accelerate your level of success a lot quicker than just learning about a new bait or a new color. Also, guys, before we get started, I just wanted to let you know about the Tackle Warehouse right now. They got a couple of really good fall deals going on. They've got a thing set up right now that based upon how many products you buy, you get bigger and bigger discounts. Say, for example, if you buy 10 products, 25% discount. And if you buy like 20 products, you get 40% on those products. So I'll put my Tackle Warehouse link in the description if you guys would like to take advantage of that and use that link. It's a good way to help the channel out. Okay, guys, I have always been a stealthy fisherman because I learned how to fish wading creeks. And when you're wading creeks, you've got to be stealthy because most of the time the water's clear, the fish are really spooky, it's shallow. So you've got to understand about how to sneak up on fish and how to approach fish, going up current where the sediment doesn't wash down into them. And you got to be aware that you're not throwing your shadow off on the water. So I learned early on the importance of being stealthy in fishing. And I incorporated that into my tournament fishing because one of the people that I really looked up to and I read about when I first started fishing was Doug Hannon. And if you're not familiar with Doug Hannon, he was probably one of the most famous researchers on bass back in the 70s and 80s. And he was known for catching big fish. Like he caught like 300 bass in Florida over 10 pounds. And Doug fished out of a camouflage flat bottom boat, and he wore camouflage clothes when he was fishing. And he talked about how aware that big fish were, and that's why he tried to sneak up on them with a small boat using camouflage a boat and clothing. And I always found that fascinating because that was sort of a controlled variable that I could do and take advantage of. So I started out with that early. So here's the thing, which you want to, sorry about that noise, guys. Trash trucks coming up right now, probably a little noisy. But here's some things I want to give you. I want to give you some tips and advice on how to be stealthy in a boat that will definitely add up to more fish, because a lot of people don't really know how many more fish that you're going to add up to. But overall, if you incorporate some of the stuff I'm getting ready to tell you, say, for example, if you just fished your normal way about moving around in the boat and, making whatever noise you made or talking, let's say that you caught 200 fish in a year. I think by being stealthy, you're going to jump that number up to about 250, and you'll probably catch a lot more bigger fish. Okay, so the first thing is approaching piece of cover. One of the things you want to do when you approach a piece of cover in your boat, or if you're walking the bank or wading the creek or whatever, go in there quietly and slowly. So make sure that you shut your boat down quite a ways away from whatever bank you're planning to fish or whatever area you're fishing, and sort of slowly idle in there where you're not throwing up a big wake anywhere. That's right off the bat, because bass are aware of noise decibel levels, and noise is part of their environment. So they hear it every day, but they understand an increased level of noise decibels means more people on the water, and it turns them off the more the noise decibels are. So if you go in there quiet, right off the bat, you're going to get, those fish are not going to be quite so aware. The next thing, guys, when you put your trolling motor in the water, don't just like fling it down in there. Don't pick it up and just let it slap down in the water. Lower it into the water gently where you don't make any noise, where it connects to the bracket. And then when you're using your trolling motor, make sure that you're using the trolling motor at the slowest speed that you can efficiently go through an area. Try to avoid having it on higher speeds and try to avoid having it constantly on and off. If you can pick up a speed where you can keep your foot on the trolling motor and not take it off very much, but you're still moving forward, but not too fast where you're slopping through your cover, that's the ideal situation, because two things that will spook bass really bad is a on and off trolling motor and if you put it on a great deal of thrust. So keep that dial down low if all possible. Next thing you can do, guys, is unless you absolutely need them, turn off your electronics. Those pings are other telegraph, things to the bass as far as it gives your presence away. So if you're fishing down a row of cover and you just fish in the cover and you don't need to know how deep it is, just turn your electronics off. Both of them ideally, but at least turn one of them off where you have a reduction in the amount of pings. I think a lot of people, they just get sort of conditioned to leaving them on all the time, but also just really try to make sure that you got those things off. Next thing you can do, guys, is be aware of your in the boat movements. And that's one of the reasons that I either fish, in socks when I'm fishing, or bare feet, or I wear a real light tennis shoe, even in the wintertime. Try to avoid wearing those big clunky boots because it makes you heavy on your feet. And when you're moving in the boat, make sure that you're not rocking the boat, sort of step slow and gentle and set down slow and stand up slow, and be aware that you're not making a bunch of noise clanging around in the boat. I mean, if you get into a storage, don't sit and just rummage through your tackle boxes where they're making a bunch of noise. Don't try to hit things on the boat that is making noise. Just try to always feel that you're sneaking up on the bass. I mean, be aware that, just pretend that you're deer hunting or something, and you wouldn't make that kind of noise deer hunting, and try to do the same thing when you're fishing for bass, is try to be as quiet as you can. And guys, the last thing is, and there's other stuff, but these are the big ones. The last thing is try to keep your conversation to a minimum in the boat. I know a lot of people, they're out there and they want to have a good time and they want to talk. And if that's your priority, that's fine. But if you're serious about catching fish, try to minimize your conversation and try to keep your voice down. A voice will carry. One of the things that distracts me more than anything else is I get some guy in the boat with me, a co-angler, that has one of those big, loud, booming voices that just carry, and you're always talking loud. And you know how you can hear guys talking all the way across the cove sometime if they're loud. But just try to keep your voice low. If you're talking, try to talk like this, a little bit softer, and preferably not talking at all. So if you do that, guys, if you take the time to pull into an area real slow, be quiet with your trolling motor, don't turn it on and off a lot, turn your electronics off, move in the boat slow and stealthy and gracefully, and just keep the noise to a minimum, guys. It definitely will add up to more fish for you guys, for sure. I mean, you got to give bass credit that they deserve. Bass are extremely aware. You're not going to sneak up on them, even if you try to sneak up on them. They know you're there, but the quieter that you are, the less apt they are going to be to turn off to the degree they would be if you just were like a bull in a china closet coming through there. So anyway, guys, hope it helps out, and we'll talk later. See you.